What's up, folks? Nick Battle, aka Nino's Cornerman, here with the SEC chat. I got my brother Fanatic Perspective. Just gonna be me and him today. Ty, I think Chris is going through some weather, and Jay's gonna be on here a little bit later, man. But Steven, what's going on, brother? Steven, you hear me?
Yeah, no, I'm good. I'm sorry. I had to mute out the other one. Now, what's up, fam? Good to be on again. I'm bummed out I missed last week, but we've had all these spring games going on and transfer portal popping off and everybody overreacting to everything and some things that may carry on to the season. So excited to talk ball as always.
Yeah, man, most definitely. So today, folks, we got a couple topics, and you know what? I'm gonna throw a third topic in here too. But the first topic, we're gonna talk about some transfer portal updates here. Some key position battles, but also University of South Carolina is recruiting out of their mind right now. They're the number 5 team in the country when it comes to recruiting, and they've locked up the whole state. But we'll talk about that later. But I want to jump into these transfer portal updates. Steven, man, I'm not going to talk about Bear Alexander yet. I think I'm going to save the big bear for the last one we're going to talk about. But I'm looking at Texas A&M, right? Uh, they lost a cornerback, Bobby Taylor,
Big loss.
2022 class. Big loss, man. One of the top 250 players in the country coming out of high school. I was expecting big things from him this year. But in losing Bobby Taylor, 12 hours later, they get a cornerback from Boston College, Josh DeBerry, who's had over 154 tackles over his 4 years there, 4 picks and about 14 passes defended. So seems like A&M is trying to beef up their secondary, but they lost a lot of kids from that 2022 cycle, man. What's your take on that?
I do. Correct me if I'm wrong. They don't have a corner remaining from that 2022 class,
At all.
right? Right,
At
because
all.
Denver Harris is now at LSU, and so they're trying to bolster the depth as much as they can, which is why this young man coming in from BC who has experience and whatnot. But you're kind of in a situation right now with A&M where it's you're now getting guys to be more depth plays than what elite corners are you getting out of this cycle, right? Like it's going to be the guys that either got pushed down the depth chart that had those very real conversations. We've had them at Texas as well, us
Yeah.
being Texas fans, versus guys that you recruited, you want to be in the room, guys like Coach Crow over there, who I respect, and whatnot in the from the A&M coaching side. They put that room together, and it was very highly touted. They had diverse type of people in there, and to lose all those guys, it's. I think that's a really tough hit, and we'll see how they're going to have to really knock on wood to try to stay healthy at that position this year.
And not even just defensive back. They lost their starting center too to the portal. So Matthew Wyckoff, he hit the portal too. He started 9 games last year, 545 snaps, and only 1 sack. So I don't know if he was their true starter or if he was filling in, but hey, to start 9 games out of a 12-game season, it seems like you're a starter there. Yeah, so he just hit the portal too. So losing depth in that line as well, man. A&M's going through it. A&M's going through it.
Yeah, he was replacing Bryce Foster, who
Yeah.
we all know was really, really highly touted from the 2021 class. We that was part of the doom of Herb Hand on the Texas side of how poorly we recruited that year's class.
I remember
But
Bryce.
Bryce Foster, being out last year, it allowed that Wyckoff to come in and really, really play well for them and was all SEC. The things I hear from my A&M friends, it's more of, hey, this particular person, where was he going to fit in
Yeah.
with Bryce back? And now that he's put out all this tape and, honorable mention, I think SEC or SEC all freshman team for Wyckoff, but those are guys like Bryce Foster. When he got there, the expectation wasn't originally for him to play center either. He ended
Exactly.
up at center,
Yeah.
right? And so just having the cross training aspect, I'm sure somebody with that amount of experience and whatnot, could he have played guard? Could he have helped you there? Could somebody else move over to guard or tackle or be a swing guy? who knows?
Yeah.
Obviously, he felt as though opportunities, greener pastures are elsewhere.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking too, man. I was thinking, yeah, cross training just for somebody to have that amount of starts in the SEC, be a productive player, only allow one sack, for 545 snaps. You got to think about a guy like that can probably plug and play and move around the line. Just kind of what Texas is doing right now. But we'll get into Texas offensive line here in a few. But um, yes, talking about Texas. Texas lands Trill Carter from Minnesota, 6'2", 310-pound defensive tackle, man. What's your thoughts on that one, Steven?
I think it's a need that we have, especially from Ojimo as well as DeAndre Coburn going to the NFL. Hopefully, seeing I'm excited, and I know you're excited as well to see those young men hear their name called next week. While we're excited about the guys we have in the room, no doubt about it, the Byron Murphys of the world, T'Vondre Sweat coming back, which I think is ultimately going to be a good decision for him to advance his stock. Alfred Collins, who I think is really going to just focus on that 3 technique position and be able to get after it. I think we saw some of those elements in the spring game. And then some of the younger guys like a Vernon Broughton, a Sadir Mitchell we were excited about. Like, it's a deeper room. However, I always said this, I need my jug butt in there. I need somebody in there that's going to take on the double teams. And it can't just, because you can't just have Byron Murphy doing that job. It has to be multiple guys that you're having that. And Nick, we were talking beforehand on this when we kind of were just chatting our normal chat. And you said this, you were like, dude, I want a rotation. I want a real rotation of guys to where, we're playing the Techs of the world and they start doing that hurry up because they like a certain personnel group that's on the field. Well, the teams that are elite like Georgia and LSU, what we've seen over the last years, and Bama, when they were really, really elite at those positions, you couldn't do that to them because regardless of who was on the field, they were dogs, right? Like, they had an advantage. Right now, it kind of felt like we were feeling really, really good about the Sweat Murph combo, maybe Collins in there. And then after that, it's like, I don't know. I feel like we could get got, especially in the run game. I think Trill Carter helps you with that depth.
Yeah, man, exactly. So him actually, so looking at his stats, and looking at his grades, from sites, he's actually a better pass rusher than he is a run stopper. But hearing all the reports coming out is that he's going to be a guy that's going to be, def for actually run stop. And so, it's going to be interesting just to see how he translates to this defense. But like you said, man, losing Coburn, losing Ojimo, those are big losses. Coburn was so stout against the run. He was so short but so stout, so he was able to get great leverage. And then Ojimo, man, like I was talking to you earlier about this, he was like the silent assassin. Wasn't great at anything, was just so solid. I mean, he did his job perfectly. He was so steady. And Texas needs that rotation, man. Like you said, Sweat, Murphy, those should be the guys. Those should be the guys that are day ones, come out there, first snaps, and then you backdoor that with an Alfred Collins. If, talking to Tim Crowder about a year ago, Tim was like, if that guy turns the switch on, he's a monster. He's a freaking monster. And so if he can ever turn that switch on and become that 5-star that he was coming out of high school, I mean, the sky is the limit for that guy. Broughton, the same way. He's so athletic, a guy that played basketball. He can just do so many things well when it comes to having good just foot movement and things like that, man. But he has to mature as well as a player. So we got those top 4 there. Guys like Chris Ross are also in the fold. Aaron Bryant, which a lot of people aren't talking about.
Aaron Bryant's another one. Good point.
Yeah, man. We're hearing great things about him as well. But once
I want to touch on Ross real quick. So Ross played a lot of edge in the game.
Hey, he slimmed down some. And well, I wouldn't say slimmed down. He beefed up, but his body looked so much different than what it did in high school.
Yeah,
So
I think that's the move. I think that's the move. Just be a bigger defensive end type and play more outside, especially with the group that they have now and the kind of where they're targeting and recruiting. Because I know we're about to get to Bear Alexander as well, but Chris Ross played outside. Also, Jere Bledsoe took some.
Bledsoe played outside as well.
Jere Bledsoe played outside as well. They kind of had like a big package with Bledsoe and Baron Sorrell being the edges, and then Sweat and I forgot who the other person maybe it was Brian or whoever was. No, Brian was on the orange team, I think, but they had two other guys inside. Ross was one of the pillars of North Shore when they went
Yeah.
on their run,
Well, he was
right? And was
guy was nasty.
yeah, and he went head up with Cam Williams in that game,
Sure
if I
did.
recall, right? And so the body with Chris Ross, it's all been about his body, and the guys that leave programs, right? Like Travell Johnson's out in the portal now.
Yep.
Who's the other young man?
Derek
That
Brown.
was
Derek Brown's in the portal.
Derek Brown.
And of course,
Those two, right?
We'll talk about that in a minute.
But I want to focus on Derek and Travell.
Yeah.
Them not putting on that additional weight and bulking up, to me, just from what I see from the outside looking in, and I'm rooting for Travell. I just shared his tape on Twitter. He put out some of his practice film, trying to help the young man find a new home, and he's saying that hey, he can play safety too, which also tells me that if you were trying to play like Will, and you're telling me now that you can also play safety, that means you're still probably hovering around 200, 205 pounds.
Yeah.
Right. So like, trying to find these guys where their body, Derek Brown trying to play on edge, but you're in the 215.
Weight on. Yeah, he just couldn't put the weight in, man. Which is kind of crazy. I hate to see him leave because he was one of our best recruiters also. He was recruiting
kind of like the Bobby Taylor thing.
He was recruiting his butt off, but he was so slim though, man. But but like you say, man, I like Johnson's tape coming out of high school, but when he was coming out of high school, I was like, he is a little light, and for him to be a linebacker in a Steve Sarkisian system, a PK system, he's got to put on some weight. He's your typical linebacker in the previous Big 12 days that you would see that you would need to fly around and be able to have the catch up speed to catch up with guys because they have air rate going straight crazy, right? So he's a classic 2010 Big 12 linebacker that has to run, right? But like you're saying, safety is probably the better position for him. Strong safety, box safety, because he does have some quickness on him. Also talking about the portal with Texas. So you're talking about Texas now. Brennan Thompson. Not shocked that he hit the portal at all. I understand that Brennan wants to run track, and he should. He runs a 10-2 and 100. He should run track. But if football is going to be your number one sport, and you miss spring practice, people are going to jump you. And especially with the dogs that Sark is bringing in, he's bringing in Jonte Cook. He's bringing in a Moore. These guys came in early to play. Of course, Xavier Worthy's here playing. A.D. Mitchell's playing. Isaiah Nayer's fighting to get on the field. Of course, you still got Jordan Whittington, right? We got a slew of receivers that were practicing in the spring. And then you couple that with a brand new wide receiver coach in Chris Jackson. And so he has to know these guys.
Great
right?
Point.
With him having to know these guys, if you got somebody that is super talented, I just can't hold a spot open for you. If I don't know what you can do, I haven't physically seen you with my own eyes. So I definitely understand why he's in the portal. A lot of talent came into Texas. Ed O says it best, right? He said it best. I'm trying to recruit somebody better than the last class. I don't care how good you are. And look, I got Bijan. I'm trying to get a better running back than Bijan, right? I got Cedric Baxter. Next year, I want a better running back than Cedric Baxter. I got Xavier Worthy. I need a better wide receiver than Worthy. I got Cook now. I got Jonte Cook and Xavier Worthy. Those two are the two highest recruited wide receivers to ever step foot on Texas, right? I want a better one next year.
Running back. Look at. We got Cedric Baxter from Florida this year. Now we got the young man, Gibson or whatever his name is, coming from IMG, right?
Yeah.
Good,
I mean, they are hard. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
man. So it's to get better. It's all about what does the floor of your team look like, right? If the floor of your team is competitive, then you're good. You're in a great position. Because if somebody gets hurt, then that's the opportunity to know that you got the dogs in your program that keep this program afloat. All right. So we'll see.
This is all in preparation for us to go to the SEC. right? The
That's it.
mentality. This is why we have this channel. This is why we started this platform. It's a different mentality. Let's just be real. Let's be honest with ourselves, right?
Yep.
And one thing I recorded with my buddies, Chris and Vashawn over from the Unfiltered group on Facebook. Shout out to those brothers. We got some content coming out the next couple days on my channel. But one of the things we actually talked about this on our show, and one of the things that Chris Simpkins said, do you have a football scholarship or do you have a track scholarship? What are
Exactly.
you here for? I mean, it's as blunt as that, right? And so understanding, hey, with Jaden Alexis gone in that room, there's Ryan Nibbler coming in, there's 8 scholarship receivers. Where are you in the pecking order with a new receiver coach, like you pointed out? I think that's an excellent point about Chris Jackson and building that relationship. And I understand it's I think it's different too. This is just real talk for college in general. Expectations. When you come to a school, when you come to a program, a lot of these kids want to play baseball. I just watched a press conference with Jimbo Fisher, the
Hmm.
post spring presser, where he was asked about Bryce Foster,
Yeah.
right? And how, and he was saying it hurts the team that Bryce isn't here, and he's our center, and he has spring sports, and I got to deal with it. Now, in that case, that's my starting center. And we
Yeah.
just talked about Wyckoff leaving, but these are the realities that a lot of people have to deal with, right? And so it's one thing if you're playing baseball, and he was saying if you're playing baseball, you can kind of jump back and forth and do both. You don't really need to. It's not a whole lot of prep that goes into it on the baseball side. You can go over, play a game, and we actually saw the
Exactly.
young man at UCF do that on
Yeah.
Friday,
Yeah.
Plumlee, right? But
Mhm.
when you're committed to track and some of these other events, that's a whole different training regimen,
Yeah. Your
right?
body's different. Your body's
Yeah,
different. And you got to be built different to be able to do both sports. I've seen one person run track and do football at Texas when I was there. And it's a friend of mine, Montreal Flowers. He played wide receiver at Texas and also ran track, very fast guy. Had some medical, problems, so he couldn't play sports
I
anymore. But
remember
Trail,
that. Yeah.
yeah, man, Trail was a beast. I think he went to Skyline, if not mistaken. Yeah, Trail was that guy, man. He was special. I mean, very special. If he didn't have medical problems, Trail would. I'm not just saying this because I know him, and I think everybody in that era was going to the league. But he was the guy that had NFL written all over him. You had to be that kind of special of a player to be able to do both. Like Trail got snaps as a freshman, like a lot of snaps as a freshman, and then also ran track. Yeah, Goodwin did as well. That's what I'm saying, Truth. Those are special guys. Like those are guys, when they hop on that field, not only are they going to be physically ready to play football, but also be able to run track at a high level. And I feel bad for BT because I've really had high hopes for him. I mean, he's a guy that you can't teach speed and you can't teach size, and he has speed. And yeah, 10-2 speed going down the, sideline is awesome.
Well,
And
if our OU guys were here, they would, they might be talking about him right now because word on the street is they're in the leader,
yes, yeah,
starting to get the balls for his services. So we may see BT here real soon. I do, regardless of where he goes. I always wish
yeah.
young
Wish
men
him
the
the
best of
best.
luck.
Wish him the
Yeah,
best.
but hey, if we see you in Dallas, brother, we're gonna get it back in blood, my friend. I'm just let you know. I'm keeping it a buck. I'm keeping it a buck. If we see you in Dallas,
Yeah.
you already know what it is. I
Hey.
want to talk about Bear.
Yes. Yeah. Look. Yeah. Barry Alexander, man. Let's talk about him.
Okay, so you know, reg- Bear is fascinating because I know our friends in Fort Worth over at TCU do not want that smoke whatsoever. After his performance in the national championship game as a true freshman. In all seriousness, when a player of this caliber, and it happens last year it was John Mathis was like that big name, that big defensive line wolf, and right now it's Bear Alexander out of Georgia,
Yeah.
who is one of the great mercenaries in college football right now. In all seriousness, I mean, this is a guy that went to 3 different high schools, and now going in 2 years in college is going to be on his second college. But with the ability that he's shown, especially at the end of the season for Georgia, in a crazy rotation, by the way, one that featured
Yeah.
guys like Jalen Carter, for Bear to still stand out and still get hits.
Get 2 sacks in the national championship game.
Yeah. Yeah. There's been rumors that it's Texas and USC or anything like that. I haven't heard. Have you heard any other SEC schools in the mix, or is he leaving the?
Oh, I've
Is
heard
Alabama leaving the conference?
USC. Hold on, what's this? Byron Murphy going to Baylor. What is this, Drew?
That what?
I don't know about that. I'm not gonna throw a rumor.
No, he meant. I know what he meant. He mistyped. Byron Vaughns is going to Baylor.
Oh, Byron Vaughns. Yeah,
yes.
They went to Utah State.
Yes, Byron Vaughns is going to Baylor.
Oh,
I think that's what Drew means.
Perfect.
Drew,
all right.
the people for no reason, brother.
Drew, I had the heart attack going. I'm like, he's a starter, man. What's going on?
Good thing I knew that. Yeah, he's talking about Byron Vaughns. He's not talking about
Byron Vaughns. Yeah. His mom was cool on Twitter too. She mom and dad were cool on Twitter. But yeah, he was at Utah State. Yeah, man. Yes. But Bear is he's a player, a 5-star guy. Hey, Steven, I got a little static in the background. A little echo. There we go. Better. Yeah, man. So Bear was a 5-star guy, man. I don't even know if he's reached out. And this is a comment from Nick V right here. So the Texas staff hasn't reached out to Bear. It might have to do with why he is in the portal. And yeah, we were just talking about that offline, right, Steven? So we won't dig deep into that, but what we will say is that I don't think Texas staff wants to have any more Agiye Halls or Billingsley situations where these are guys that are uber talented, that can come in and start for a lot of teams in the country if what they have in between the ears is great, right? And so if they can get focused, yes, that's the perfect player to, that you want on your team, especially Hall was a 5-star guy. He was the number 1 receiver in the country. Billingsley was a stud. And Bear is a guy who is a stud too. But if he's not the right fit for the culture, then sometimes you got to sacrifice that. And I think that's why we saw Texas go out and get Terrell Carter, right? Just go ahead and address it, get your depth right there, and just leave it alone.
Can you hear me okay now?
Yeah.
There's still issue. With guys like Bear's a guy that you don't say it's a luxury. It's a luxury, right? Like the things that he does do and what he would compliment in our room, we do have guys that have the ability to do that for sure. So I don't think it's necessarily a need, but it's something I would think about. However, with some of the things we've heard, and these are all rumors, and I know some, judging by some of the comments in the chat, sounds like some of you brothers out there have heard that as well. The culture does matter. I mean, things backfired last year with the guys that Nino just mentioned, right? And so this Texas program's not strong enough yet, in my opinion, to be able to take on reclamation projects the way other schools can. Hopefully we get there where we're strong enough and our locker room is there. Well, we weren't there last year. I thought we were, but that proved to not be true, right? So I think they're definitely going to take note of how guys rub, even as much as talent matters. And I think we all kind of recognize this, even how we lost some of the games last year. Mm-hmm. Not every game we lost was because of, how many games did we lose because of personnel?
Yeah.
Right. Like there's other ingredients that go into this. So we got to really consider some of those things. And there's other targets out there that I think Texas could potentially look at, but looks like Bear Alexander leaning towards USC.
Yeah. That's going to be scary up there. So me and Ty were talking about this. Me, Ty, and Jay were talking about this on Monday. And I was like, why would he go to USC? It's just like, I'm thinking he's one of the best defensive players to come out of high school in quite some time. And you would think he'd want to go to a more established defense. But, but Jay made the point. He goes, well, why would he leave Georgia? Right. I'm like, exactly. But, so Ty says he's so talented. He's just waiting his time. He's a guy that knows in 2 more years, he's going to be a 1st-round draft pick. If he just plays up to his potential. and just does what he's supposed to do, he's going to get drafted and not have any problems. So, yeah, it is what it
I'm
is,
never
man.
gonna ask anybody why they're going to LA to go. like it's like, have you been there? Like,
Yeah,
I'm
I
never
was
gonna
stationed there for 4 years. I was there for 4 years, man. My wife still wants to go back. I'm like, hell no, no.
But under those circumstances with NIL
Yeah,
and
NIL,
the team's gonna win 10 games or whatever. Like, yeah, like
it's gonna
he
look
already
pretty
got the
good, bro.
natty. He already did what he needed to do against SEC competition. He's waiting the next 2 years. He's chilling the next 2 years.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. All right, so we're done with the transfer portal stuff, man. Let's talk about some key position battles coming out of spring camp. And then I think we can start off. Let's start off with our Longhorns, man. Since we're Longhorn fans, let's start off with our Longhorns, man. One battle that, of course, I put up a video. I got a lot of hell for putting up a video about 2 weeks ago about the quarterback number 2, Malik Murphy. I said he was the most important player, I think, in the 2023 team this year. And I said, for this reason alone, we need a bona fide number 2, because if something happens to Quinn and he cannot play, we do not need to be in the quarterback situations that we've been in the past and have a true freshman have to come in and save this team. It cannot happen. We need a bona fide number 2, like we had last year with Hudson Card, who can come in and, no kidding, win you some
Exactly.
games.
I was gonna say exactly like we had last year.
Yeah, who can come in and win you some games and put enough film out there for either him to do his thing at some other school or become the starter next year if said quarterback leaves. Because if Quinn balls out this year, he has the opportunity to go to the league. If he doesn't, I see a guy like Malik leaving. However, if Quinn does not make it through a full season, this is just me talking, and Malik gets a chance to go in there, I don't think Malik lets the reins on that job go. He is that talented. So yeah, quarterback battle. That's not a quarterback battle. Sark came out and said already that it's clear that Quinn is the starter. I think he's trying to shut down any smoke. He don't want any smoke about a QB battle. He wants everybody to understand Quinn's his guy, and I agree with him. Let him work. He's your guy. He started last year, but I think we all saw what we saw in the spring game. Now, it was one game. I get it. Folks have been getting on me. Nick, it's one game. Yes, it's one game. But he played very well, and it's encouraging to see our backup, actually have a good game. What are your thoughts, man?
I think Sark is trying to build continuity, and even with the quarterback decision, this is the first. He's been here 3 years now, or he's in year 3 currently. This is going to be the first camp we go into where he doesn't have to answer questions every press conference about the quarterback thing, right?
Yeah.
Because the first 2 years it went all the way down until the season, basically a couple practices before the season started, where he had to make a decision. I think Sark is also saying, hey, I kind of probably made a mistake in 2021, just bailing on Hudson Card. Not to say that Casey Thompson was the better quarterback at that time. However, all of the reps that they gave to Casey to build him up, ultimately Nebraska got that, right, in terms of the experience. And so we were kind of left with, okay, now we're at ground zero again with Quinn and Hudson. And, I didn't get to build that up. So I think he's also trying to get a return for all the reps he gave, all the growing pains that Quinn went through last year. And Malik has also just now gotten healthy, which is really, really great and encouraging. He missed the first part of camp too. So just him being back, and I think that even probably favors Malik even more. The fact that he didn't even practice the entire time and not just look the way he did. I mean, I've always seen Malik throw the piss out of the football, me personally, like since he was a 5-star because of 7-on-7s.
Yeah,
like,
as a JV starting quarterback. He didn't he wasn't even on varsity yet.
Right. He was, and people were already saying, that's how well he looks. He looked throwing the football. And once they've improved the mechanics, that's helped. I think that what was really encouraging, though, was his command of the offense. It seemed like when he needed to check the ball down, he wasn't just gunning for big plays to show off the arm every single time. He was okay with making the boring play. And that's what really where I was like, oh, okay, we really playing quarterback today. And so yes, it's one sample size. But there's nothing wrong with having multiple guys that can play the position well. That's a good thing. That's a good problem to have. My only concern at this point is if I'm Florida and I saw that nasty performance from Jack Miller and Graham Mertz.
Graham Mertz and Max Brown.
Are we throwing a bag out there?
Especially after you just missed out on your 5-star quarterback who's just not there anymore.
Like seriously, like I think that's the biggest thing Texas is going to have to defend against is these other teams. We're going to see more people throw out poverty quarterback situations on Saturday in this next spring game, and I think people might call post spring and say, "Hey, if you want to be in a quarterback battle at our school, we'll pay you to come over here." Let's just be honest, and I think that's something that Texas is going to have to defend against. To be quite frank with you. Because I'm looking at, when I watched Auburn spring game, and granted they were playing in a monsoon. I'll be fair to Auburn, but that Florida situation, it's like, ooh, yikes! Like he could come in there and actually win that job, like
easily. No, not can. He will. If he goes to Florida, he's the starting quarterback tomorrow. And I'm sorry, no disrespect to Mertz, Miller, or Brown, but I'm just being honest. He's starting tomorrow. This is where
that's what scares me though, Nino. Like
no, that's
exactly we're gonna see more games.
That's what scares me too, because people don't understand that Malik Murphy is the first quarterback recruit that Sark has recruited here to Texas. Look, I understand Quinn is a transfer portal guy. Sark didn't recruit Quinn through the wire to get him to Texas. Sark recruited. He went out and basically handpicked Malik Murphy. That's what he wants as his quarterback. It just also happens to have a guy like Quinn Ewers here as well, who was the previous number one quarterback in his class as well, right? So we know how much Sark loves Malik Murphy. We know how much he loves him. Every press conference he has to say something about Malik Murphy. He understands the talent that is there. He does. That's his guy. I mean, that is his guy for all intents and purposes. That is his guy. He handpicked that guy. But like you said, for continuity purposes, I get it. Quinn has all the arm talent. I totally get it. I just love Malik's attitude, man. We were talking about this earlier. I love his attitude. I love his moxie he has. I mean, he's a guy when he walks in the room, you gravitate to him, right? When he walked in those 7-on-7 drills, like everybody looked at this 6'5", 6'6", 230-pound quarterback with locks and just saw him sling the ball all over the place, man. You know what I mean? Like he has an infectious attitude, and I think that bodes well for a starting quarterback. You go and look at the successful quarterbacks, even Stetson Bennett. Stetson Bennett has some dog in him. No matter what people want to say about Stetson Bennett, like he got a little umph in him. Like he has some you know what I mean? So yeah, I just like the way he carries himself as a quarterback, man. I hope he gets a fair shake here at Texas. Honestly, I do. We'll see what happens after this year. But hey, we're gonna need him this year, folks. Look at last year, Bryce Young. He didn't play the whole season last year. Jalen Miro had to come and play a game for Bryce Young. Hudson Card, he had to come in for 3 games, for Texas. Clemson, look at their situation, having to rotate quarterbacks because they couldn't find their guy. A&M with Connor Weigman having to find their guy as well. So quarterbacks, man. Kansas State had to go for Martinez, right? So look, there's a good opportunity and a good chance that we're going to need Malik some point in this season. And so that's why I hope he sticks around, and I think he will. But like you said, man, my biggest fear is him putting that on tape and other teams seeing it and other teams giving them that nice NIL, Chick-fil-A bag not the McDonald's bag, you know what I'm saying, from Tennessee, and just saying, look, this is your job if you come over here.
Texas will have to defend against that. But the thing, is that, and this is what sold the Mannings. It's being in that room. This is AP level quarterbacking in our offense and Sark. And you've seen it already with them fixing Malik's throwing motion. He doesn't have that window anymore. You can see it with how he's seeing the field and how he plays against like, and his movement even looks better. His feet look better. This is AP level quarterbacking, so it's harder. It's a lot more to play. But I do think if I'm Texas, if I'm Sark, I'm saying, look, I get it, but they're going to coach you the way I'll coach you. You're going to get better the way you've already got, and you haven't even played the game yet.
Yeah.
And you've already gotten better. You're already night and day from where you were in high school. That's what we offer here. That's why the Mannings came here, because they see it. They see it. Look, even Quinn has got Quinn. I mean, I know we have some questions still, but like Quinn from last year, he looks better. I'm sorry. This is
he does.
This is that they're in. So if you go to Florida, you go sir. They're gonna coach you. You're gonna go there and then plateau. Right? And so we got to, some things you got conversations with kids about and make sure it aligns with their long-term goals and where they ultimately want to get to.
Gotcha. Hey, Steven, fix your mic, man. Sounds like you're possessed. Friday True said it sounds like you're possessed by serious evil. Yeah, it's going to be interesting though, man. So like you said, Friday True said right here, Malik definitely has the it. That translates to leadership as well, but he still needs a little more cooking. That's right. And I can buy that too. He's going to need just a little bit more cooking. But man, he has the arm talent. I think this might be the most talented quarterback room Texas has had in a long time. I mean, a long time. You're looking at Quinn with his arm talent. You're looking at Malik with his cannon of an arm, and then you bring in Arch Manning. And I'm glad that we got the opportunity to see Malik do his thing, because now it lets people see when Arch Manning came in the game, he looked like a freshman. And that's fine because he is a freshman. He's supposed to be at the prom right now. He looks like a freshman. And that's what we needed him to look like, because we don't need any controversy battle with the last name Manning, because that's when people get stirred up.
Do I sound better now?
A whole lot better.
Yeah, the mic was connected to something else, so we got it fixed. Amateur hour over here. My apologies, everybody. Hopefully I'm coming through loud and clear now, so I apologize.
So here, Josh Pate talked last night about the difference between depends and regardless of team. Do you think Texas is a playoff team regardless of or depending on what other teams do? Oh, that's a good question. I'm going to say Texas still has holes, and so it's going to be depending on for me. Even though Texas returns 10 starters on offense, that one starter that they're missing is probably he's easily a top 5 running back to ever come to the school. And some people might say he's a top 3 running back. To ever great.
He's on the Mount Rushmore of Texas running back. I would say he is.
I mean,
Bijan is.
Yeah, Bijan is. I would put him 4. I would say you got Ricky, you got Earl, you got Sebi, and then that 4th spot, is it Jamal Charles? Is it Bijan? I'm gonna say Bijan. Is it Bijan, Jamal Charles? People love to hate on a guy named Deontay Foreman, who also won a Doak Walker Award, and was the only thing on this team for a year. So people love to hate on that as well. But yeah, we're losing one of the best players that we've seen here at Texas in a long time. So that's going to be a huge loss, even though I think our offensive line is going to be a lot better than it was last year. Having a guy like Kelvin Banks be able to mature, Jake Majors being the steady guy that calls all the plays here on the line. Whoever starts at guard next to him, whether it's Cole Hudson, DJ Campbell, very interesting, Stephen, to see that Hayden Connor played on the second team at left guard. He was a starter every game last season. Neto took the snaps at starting guard this year in the spring game, which I thought was very interesting. So, yeah, there's a lot of competition on that line. Like we said, Sark wants his players. We understand that Hayden Conner was a Tom Herman player. I mean, don't get me wrong. Hayden Conner was recruited by everybody in the country. He could have went to any school he wanted to go to. Met his father a couple of times at games. Wonderful father. Stevens met him too as well. A great family. They're down there from the Katy, Texas area. But you see who Sarkisian has brought in, and you're starting to see how he wants to mold his team. And to see a guy like Neto come in and start over Hayden Conner and Cam Williams go and play the other guard position, kind of lets you know what he's thinking there for that offensive line. What are your thoughts, Steven?
I think he's trying to also see if Hayden Conner can play center.
But he didn't play center though. I thought he played left guard.
He had some snaps. Gorham Welch played most of the snaps.
Yeah.
Sawyer Gorham Welch did most of the snaps, but there was a few where Hayden Conner, I think, and they've tried to behind the scenes, they've been trying to work him at center a little bit. It's the same thing they did with Junior Angilau that they tried to do with Junior Angilau last year. Now, also, I think it's kind of twofold because you can see, okay, what does Hayden look like over here? We kind of already know what Hayden gives us, and Hayden we know can play tackle, guard, and potentially center. What do I have with Neto? And let's really, really give Neto a real evaluation. What does he look like next to Jake Majors? I do think that's fair as well. So I'm with you though. The competition, it's anybody's spot. And I think right now, yeah, Nick, they're trying to see. I think they're trying to see if he can push Jake Majors.
And that makes a lot more sense because we all understand Flood wants big guys in that line. Hayden Conner's a big dude.
Yeah, and if he's your center, that changes things.
Hayden Conner's a smart guy too. I mean, he's highly intelligent. And of course, being the center, you got to be highly intelligent. You got to know where everybody needs to be. You got to be that guy who's a calm in the storm. You got to be able to put people in the right position. Yeah, I saw him take a few snaps at center, but when I was watching some of the game as well, I saw more of him at left guard on the second team. And I was like, that's
next to Gorham Welch. And Gorham Welch moved over. That's an emergency type player. No disrespect, but his size isn't there.
Yeah,
and he moved over from D tackle, right?
Yeah. Tackle.
Yeah, but that was. I think they were trying to accomplish multiple things there. Because I did the same thing. I was like, whoa, Neto's starting. But then when I really started thinking about it, I was like, oh, they're doing Flood's doing the Junior Angilau thing again. Which we never got to see, unfortunately.
No, I was a big fan. I was a big fan of Junior going to center. I remember I was screaming it all last year.
You were one of the people. You were one of the main people. Like, hey, can we try Junior at center to see what it looks like? And now he's at Oregon, so we never got to see it. So now they're trying it with Hayden Conner. I mean, last spring game, Hayden Conner was our starting left tackle. Think about that.
Yeah,
in 2022.
That's true. So, we got some huge position battles coming out of the spring game, man. I'm interested to see. It seems like Christian Jones is still going to stay at the right tackle position. I know there was a lot of talk about him potentially bumping down to a guard because people think that's where his natural NFL position is going to be. But he was so steady at right tackle last year. I don't think he missed
it in anymore. Yeah.
Yeah.
I also think at some point it's what's best for the team, even though that may still. I don't disagree that may be his long-term NFL position, but yeah, at some point you got to do what's best for the team, and if that's Christian Jones, I mean, at this point you feel the best about your tackle situation in the conference, without a doubt, right? And so if you say, hey, I'm going to start with these two, my bookends here, right, and then let the best three people win inside. I think that's the move.
That's the position battle that look, man. Let's say Major stays at center, all right? or better yet, let's say Hayden Connor beats out Majors, and Hayden Connor's our center. Now we got 2 guard positions. We saw Cam Williams play guard. We saw Cole Hudson all last year play guard. We saw Neto play guard. Right?
You saw DJ.
Yeah, DJ Campbell. I mean, come on. I mean, we got 4 guys. This is where it gets scary for me, man. This is a highly touted offensive line class that came in 2022. That have the opportunity at a lot of schools to probably play this year. How do we keep them happy? How do we keep them happy? And so that's the only thing I got that I'm just like, oh man, we can't. I want to see this young talent come in. However, hey, let the best 2 play the guard positions, man. Whether it's DJ Campbell and Cole Hudson, if Hayden Connor steps back in, he has to kind of be like the de facto guy to come back and play left guard, right? And so let's say, for instance, Jake Majors does keep his job, then you roll back in with Kelvin Banks Jr., Hayden Connor, Jake Majors. Now, who wins this guard position? Cole Hudson, Cam Williams, DJ Campbell, Neto. 1 position. 4 guys for 1 position.
Yeah.
It's going to be interesting. That's going to be a hell of a battle to see who plays guard here at Texas.
I think it is. Unfortunately, that's another spot there where I think people that may see that they have a hole, or if they've had injuries in the spring. Again, we have a lot of games coming up this weekend. I know in the SEC, I think we have 2, LSU and Bama are having their spring game on Saturday. But if somebody suffers an injury at guard or something happens,
somebody's going to throw the bag somewhere.
Yeah. And because we it comes off that we have not a surplus, but we have a lot of guys, right? And so it may be easier for somebody else to get on the field. That's something to pay attention to. I'm not trying. I know, like you said, these are guys that were highly touted, that have a lot of connections at other schools and already developed physically in the weight room. I saw somebody talking about Neto's body and just what he's looked like coming out of Allen in just a year. Yeah, he's inexperienced, and I think you saw some of those at times in the game, and he needs to, Also, that's the other thing too. I want to make one comment about. Yeah, he lost some snaps, but he lost some snaps to Byron Murphy. Okay, at some point, it's like
Byron Murphy might be the best player on Texas roster this year. And
whoa, that's a hot take.
I'm just being honest, man. He might be the best, most consistent player on Texas roster this year. He's the guy that can win in any one-on-one on that defensive line going against the offensive line. Byron is the guy who can get a win pretty easily too. He reminds me so much. I'm just keeping it real. I think he might be the best player on Texas this year. Overall best player.
I like it. Hey, that'd be dope if it comes to fruition. He's got some competition. Jahdae Barron and Jalen Ford. Those are some big, some heavy hitters in there. But if we have that type of production at all 3 levels of our defense, look out.
Yeah, he's a guy I'm really interested to see how he's going to play this year. He kind of reminds me of some of those guys from the 05 team. I always talk about those guys. But I went to school with him, right? And I know those guys. When Texas was winning, especially on the defensive line, they were rotating some no kidding heavy hitters. Roderick Wright, Franco Cam, Larry Dibbles, Big Dibs, who a lot of people don't give a lot of credit to. Big Dibs was a monster, right? He was just short, right? And people didn't give him his just due because he was short. But Dibs was the guy that made the first penetration against USC for us to get that stop against Lindo White. I mean, he was that guy. We had really good defensive lines at that time, and I see this team starting to have a line. I'm not gonna say comparable to that because we don't have 2 5-stars that came in and had instant production like a Roderick Wright did and like a Franco Cam did, and Dibs being a high 4-star guy that came in and did great things, from Lancaster. But yeah, I'm starting to see that here, and Byron Murphy has that same attitude of a Larry Dibbles. He's just nasty, a freaking firecracker. Dibbs was a firecracker, man. I mean, just a firecracker. And Murphy has that same attitude. I think Murphy might have I don't want to disrespect my boy Dibbs. Murphy might be a little bit more talented than Dibbs. I'm not gonna say talented, but
It's disrespectful to say.
yeah,
I mean,
he's good. I mean, but Dibbs was my dude. You don't understand. I used to ride around the car with Dibbs, man. That's my guy. So no disrespect to my boy Dibbs, but Dibbs was a guy that was a 3-year starter here at Texas. I mean, like a no kidding 3-year starter. You know, they had a cup of coffee in the league as well. All right. So but Byron Murphy has a shot to be a day 2 pick in the draft. He's that good. So but yeah, we'll see, man. We'll see. I love Byron Murphy. I think he might be the best player in his team when it's all said and done. He's going to be the most productive. He's going to be one of those guys at a position of need that is going to produce because he's finally going to get snaps. That's my opinion. Yeah, man. What else you got, man?
Somebody asked the question about OU secondary and them being better this year. I think it was Cody.
There you go.
I mean, okay. So I do want to touch on this. I think with health, with Billy Bowman being fully healthy, Woody Washington, who I think Woody Washington is a terrific player and will continue to ascend. They should be, and then you're adding arguably the best safety in the country coming out of high school in Peyton Bowen. So you got a lot of versatility there that they should be better and more consistent. How will they be in this scheme? What scheme are we running? Because I felt when they started getting banged up, they were lost in space so many times, so many coverage busts. The communication seemed poor. They still have older guys in there. I think Key Lawrence is still there. So as talented as some of these younger guys that they have coming up on OU, we need to see if they embrace that scheme better and really understand what the defense is trying to accomplish. So health being there, and like I said, Billy Bowman and Peyton Bowen, these are guys that everybody in the country were going after, right? These are Woody Washington being a bigger corner, very physical, but also really good athlete. Woody Washington is going to play on Sundays. So I'm really curious, though, how they gel as a group and what some of that depth looks like, because they can't have another repeat of especially the back end of last year and some of the busts that they had.
Yeah. I'm going to say this about OU, and my Texas fans are going to hate me for saying this, but their defense is going to remind me of how Texas's defense progressed under year 2 with PK. BV is a hell of a defensive coordinator. Everybody knows that, right? I mean, this guy doesn't get to OU and forget how to coach defense, right? It's the same thing that we had with PK in our first year. We had to get the players ready to play in the system. Go get guys that could play in the system. These guys had to learn a new system. And then with them learning a new system, get comfortable with it. And it took a year to install. It took a year for these guys to get this installed. We saw the maturation process of a guy like Coburn. He looked really good in Herman's last year here.
Right.
In PK's first year, he didn't look so hot. He had to learn this new defense, learn his position. And then last year, and he was amazing, right? We're seeing Sweat had the same progress. He looked really good last year. I expect Sweat to be awesome this year. But in that first year, our guys didn't look that good in PK's defense because it was brand new to them. This was a time where Texas guys were having different position coaches every other year and not having any kind of stability. I think that's what OU was going with last year. So I think their secondary is going to be much improved this year. I think their defense is going to be much improved this year because it's BV's defense. It's going to happen, folks. I don't care if we're Texas fans or if you're an A&M fan or an Ellis. OU's defense is going to be very improved this year, folks. It is what it is. It's BV. He knows how to coach defense. And so once these guys get some kind of knowledge about this defense, have a year of cooking the season in this defense, which they have, I expect OU to have a better defense this year. A much better defense.
I do. They added Deshaun McCullough as well, transfer from Indiana, who I think is going to be a really, really good football player, and he's like 6'5". And if they unleash Kanak, I thought they should have played him more last year. My boy JP, shout out to JP and Trav and those guys over the JP and Trav show. My boy JP told me that they were telling me Kanak didn't know the plays or didn't know the scheme, and that position that they asked those linebackers to play, you kind of have to be one of the signal callers. But every time I saw that, and he wears number 7 on OU's defense. For those who don't know, I thought he wrecked shop, but he didn't play a whole lot against us. They played other guys, and obviously they were a non-issue against us in the Cotton Bowl. But I do. I do want to. The other thing I thought was interesting was Davis Bevel. Is he playing tight end now at OU? I saw him.
Are you joking or for real?
I saw him catching passes out there. They said they were a little thin. I don't know if that was if they were joking or what, but saw Davis Bevel out there running some routes and catching some passes. They said they're a little thin at tight end. So I just thought that was an interesting note there. Quality reps against the secondary to get them better, from Davis Bevel. But, nothing but respect to the guys up north. They're trying to go to 70. They're trying to hit, I think, 80,000 people for their spring game this weekend. So
that's good. That's good. Maybe they get 80,000 and go 7-6 this year. It is what it is. They're gonna have a good defense, though. It is what it is, folks. You can hate OU all you want. I hate them, but they're gonna have a good defense this year. It is what it is. Last topic, man. We got about 5 more minutes, man. I want to talk about South Carolina's recruiting. Beamer is doing his thing right now, man. He has the top 4 recruits in the state of South Carolina. He has 4 top 100 guys in his class. He has the number 5 class in the country. Yet I know it's early. It's early, but he already has 10 recruits in his class. He's pulling them, and I'm excited for him because it's good to see a team like South Carolina in the SEC start to get some more players, man. Because that's a hotbed if they can start recruiting the way that a Clemson can. I know Clemson's they're a different team. They're a championship winning team. But if they can start recruiting at a level like an Ole Miss per se and start to get talent up there and get a good quarterback like they have in Spencer Rattler, they can do some things. They can definitely do some things.
It's a talent-rich region. And I think one of the things you're talking about before, look, we've seen I want to say this too. When Spurrier was there, Spurrier hit a point where he was getting people at South Carolina now. This was before Clemson popped off, right? When he got Clowney and my man Marcus Lattimore, just a sad tale, but Alshon Jeffrey, Marcus Lattimore, it was like those Steven Garcia days where they were winning like 11 games. So that South Carolina area, but it was a lot of Melvin Ingram, I think, was a part of that group. Listen to those are people that are still in the NFL, right? So when you think about what that area, South Carolina, North Carolina, Georgia, even like that, I think, military guys, you guys call it the Tidewater region over there. I mean, it is rich with talent. I mean, if you look at their class right now, like you mentioned, them having right now in the 2024 recruiting rankings, depending on who you follow, they're right there around that top 5, right? But the positions stand out to me. 2 offensive tackles, defensive tackles.
2 of the most highly ranked tackles in the country. That's what got me. You start in them trenches, man. They got a 6'8",
Trying the trenches.
They got a 6'8", 340-pound tackle that I know Cal Flood would love. You know, kids are top.
All these positions are guys that are inline people. Even the tight end that they got. I mean, guys that are playing near the line of scrimmage. So that gives you an inkling of it's not, oh, we're ranked up here because we got two like dynamic, like out of nowhere receivers, right? Or a hot quarter, or like a really big quarterback and a running back, and then the rest of the class is what we've been doing. I think, you know, what Shane Beamer's doing over there has been very, very impressive at locking down that region. Not locking it down, but getting what's his out of that region.
Yeah, I mean, just to get to, I mean, look, man, the top 4 players in the state of South Carolina, especially with Clemson right next door, man, that's outstanding. But like you're saying, if the top of your class can be the non-sexy positions and they're highly ranked non-sexy positions, the defensive line, the offensive line, you're gonna have a good class. It is what it is. I'm excited for him. I think Rattler's gonna have another good season this year. I think he finally got it last year. I think it clicked in those last like 4 or 5 games, and we started to see the Rattler that everybody thought we would see that last year at OU, that year where he's supposed to be the top pick of the draft. I think we're finally starting to see that. He's going to click it on. You know, I talk a lot of mess about Rattler, but, man, he has all the arm talent. And like we said before, I think Spencer Rattler might have the best arm talent in the SEC this year. And I know people are going to kill me for it, but I think he really might have the best arm talent in the SEC. He might be the best quarterback in the SEC this year.
I do want to say something, though.
What's up?
And this is not just to throw any smoke, because somebody in this SEC Connect group said that he has the best arm in the college football, and I'm not even going there or anything right now.
No, not in college football.
and I'm not going to go there right now, but I will say this: Lenoris Sellers, who was an early enrollee freshman quarterback at South Carolina, he looked damn good in the spring game. Lenoris Sellers, he came in.
Mm-hmm.
The guy was looking like Caleb out there a little bit, bro.
don't say it.
I'm gonna lie to you, bro. I'm just saying, like not that he's Caleb Williams. I'm not trying to, you know. I'm also messing, but he looked really good for early enrollee freshman. He was doing it with his arm and his legs. Lenoris Sellers, I'm just throwing that name out there. He looked really, really good in the spring game.
Don't you scare Chris, man. You know, Chris gets scared when talent come behind Spencer.
Y'all go look up this brother's Lenoris Sellers highlights after this video. From you see what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
He gonna make that brother nervous, Spencer Rattler. I have one other note before we leave. One other note.
Yeah.
The rumors of Georgia's demise have been greatly exaggerated. They're going to be awesome this year. Okay.
Awesome.
They're going to be freaking awesome again this year. Like,
they
do not, y'all.
They might still be the favorite for the championship this year.
Yeah, honestly.
They're that loaded.
In all seriousness. This Georgia team's loaded. Dare I say they may have upgraded at quarterback with Carson Beck, because he was out there just looking accurate, tall, surgical in the pocket. Now, I don't think he can run like Stetson gave him some of the stuff in the run game. And obviously Stetson, the one thing you can never take away from Stetson Bennett, and as many jokes as we make, he was always ready for, at least the last 2 years especially, he was ready for the big moments.
He was
ready for those whether they were on the road, when they didn't play well against certain teams. He had good decision making when he needed to, and could get them out of those games and be a leader. So we don't want to discount that. But the way I see Carson Beck throwing the football, to where Brock Vandergriff is thinking about whether he even should stay at Georgia or if he should leave the room, that's serious. And then you're looking at a guy like Ladd McConkey, who's still there. Brock Bowers, the best tight end in the country, still there. Toussaint's still there. Arian Smith's there. That team is loaded offensively. And we already know what they bring on the defense side of the ball, right?
Yeah.
So Georgia looked like Georgia to me last weekend.
And they play in the East. You know, they're going to run through the East.
Right after you gassed up South Carolina.
I like South Carolina, but they're not on Georgia's level. They're not. Come on now, they're not on Georgia's level. I'm talking about the recruiting class. It takes multiple classes, man. Georgia stacked 8 years of those classes, man. So yeah, they're playing the East. They're gonna run through the East, man. It is what it is. Yeah. Well, I don't know. You got Tennessee too.
Hey, speaking of the East, I want to throw one more thing out before we leave. What I said still stands about Billy Napier and Florida. That was not a good product they put out there, and they were trying to be funny with it. Having the spring game on a Thursday. But we ended up catching y'all on 4K, and I'm glad Josh Pate called them out too about it. Yeah. It was like, hey, y'all want to be different? Cool. Want to have the spring game on Thursday? Cool. We can't go out there looking like a bucket of mid though, and that's what yet again, Florida. That looked like a 6-7 win football team to me. No disrespect.
Nah, yeah, they need a signal caller. Just don't come take ours. All right. Well, hey, I got one more thing to say, man. Hey, Hank, I understand that you're going through tornadoes right now. So is Jay and so is Chris. That's why they're not on today. They're taking shelter right now. Jay just texted that he's taking shelter, man. So, Hank, be safe out there, man. Be safe, man. Be safe. But folks, man, we've been on here for about an hour and 5 minutes. So we out of here, man. I got to go watch some Lakers play.
Y'all subscribe, hit the like button, share with a friend. We're trying to grow this channel. We're trying to grow this platform, and very thankful to be on to be able to create with all these great content creators. Nino, Jay, I know Chris isn't here, and of course Ty from Around the Table Sports. But we're all very, very blessed to have everybody here. So make sure y'all go on and subscribe and help grow the platform.
Yeah, appreciate it, folks. We're at 140 subscribers here, so we've been up in the count. So appreciate it, folks. See you later, man. Look at us, man. We out.